Hey, welcome back to Franly Advice. Today we are on part 2 of how to manage your money and budget as a new entrepreneur. So if you did not listen to part 1, head on back over there before you start today. But I want to make sure I set y'all up right if you want to start being a virtual assistant. There are some things you can put in place right off the bat to make sure you feel good about entrepreneurship versus feeling like super stressed out about the money. Okay, so last time we talked about shifting from consistent paychecks to inconsistent or unpredictable income as an entrepreneur. And then we talked about how to create a mock salary system to bring stability back. And then we talked about the real budget cuts we made, like switching our schools, changing how we were actually choosing babysitters, and a couple other things that we cut from our budget to make it easier on me as an entrepreneur. Then finally, we talked about the grocery bill that gets out of hand and how we do $150 a week to feed a family of 4. So today in part 2, I want to keep you like in the same zone, but we want to go a little bit deeper to talk about like how to make sure, as I say, the money don't get funny. Because budgeting isn't just about cutting things out of your life. It's more so about making sure you have like a guide on how to spend your money and less about restrictive access to your money or making you eat beans and rice as Dave Ramsey would do. It is just more so about making sure if you have like financial trauma and triggers like I do, you have a safety net to not force you to go back to like your young self or anything like that. So this level is just going to be about your next level money moves that you need to make that will help you when it comes to starting to work as a virtual assistant full time and cutting out your 9 to 5 paycheck. Okay. So, number 1, you always got to act like the money ain't coming. Okay? You don't want to wait on a sale. So, I'll give you a real life like explanation. So our house has been on the market for 4 to 5 months now because that man in his office and his pen are doing a lot of work and kind of shifted the housing market overnight. Like from December to January, it has been a totally different place. In December, we were seeing showings like 5 times a week. We were having to figure out how to get us and the kids out of the house all the time. And we weren't quite getting offers, but it was also around Christmas. So we were ready to not have offers, but we had showings quite literally at least 5 times a week, sometimes every single day that week, sometimes like 3 in one day. And then slowly in March, they just started to peter off. Like people stopped coming to the showings because the economy started to see drastic shifts at that point. So we never counted on that money. It was a part of our plan for Fran being an entrepreneur, but we said it's probably not going to happen. So we pretend like money doesn't exist until it is in our bank account. And that's what you have to do. We hope for a sale. We would love to sell our house. It would really like add like even more to our cushion of our emergency savings fund, but it hasn't sold. So we continue to operate out of what we know how to do and how we budget. So this is the lesson for new entrepreneurs. If you are like, okay, I'm going to quit my job and I should get my bonus from my work on this day, so I'm going to quit like 2 days later, and you find out if you quit like 2 days later, you forfeit the bonus and you don't know and you already went ahead and quit. That's why we cannot count our money until it's in our bank account. So if you're planning on quitting around like your bonus time, wait until the bonus is in your account. Then quit. Like wait until you can see the money. But do not count money before it comes, even when it comes to entrepreneurship. Let's say, and this just really actually happened to one of my entrepreneurial friends. Let's say you were booked for a speaking engagement that's coming up and they pay you like a deposit, like they pay you upfront like a percentage of what they would pay you for the speaking for the gig. But then they decide to cancel the event and now you are not getting the paycheck that you thought you were going to get, because like most of my friends who do speaking engagements get anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000. So you cannot count on these kinds of checks and these like big influxes of money until they're actually in your bank account and in your hand. Move with what's real. You win when you move with what you can see and not what you think will come. Always count your money that exists in real time in your bank account. Do not count the money before it comes. And that's going to be the same if you decide to start having courses or when you have clients who are on retainers. Do not count their money. Like, you can forecast and say, I should have X amount of money by this date, but don't count it as a guarantee. And when I say don't count it as a guarantee, don't start buying extra things in your business because you say, like, okay, I know this person said they're going to sign up in April, so I'm going to go ahead and buy this new website because I know they'll cover it when they paid their invoice in April. Until the invoice is paid, that money don't exist. Always operate on what's in your account. I will say it 1,000 times over because I have been victim to this. We want to operate with what our eyes can physically see. And I know a lot of people will be like, wait, but Fran, faith is the substance of things hoped for. Here's the thing. You can have faith and wisdom. We need them both in order to operate financially well. If you do not see that money has not happened. But I have faith that the Lord will bring that money. And my faith means I will continue to operate in excellence, but I will not overspend because I believe the money is coming. Amen, church. Okay. So only operate on what you can see in your bank account, for real. All right. Number 2, get back to the basics when it comes to paying off debt. We're doing the work even if it's not flashy. So what I mean by that is we are going to make sure that we are doing the hard things. Like, even when we start to see months where we get an influx of cash, we don't want to start acting brand new, like new money. We want to continue the same behavior we had before. We may increase things here and there, like you may actually get the website because you got an increase in money, but we're not going to go out and get the most expensive website. We're going to be reasonable about it. But the biggest thing of this part is we want to really pay attention to our debt. I'm not going to be one of those people who tells you, like, you can't quit your 9 to 5 until you pay off all your debt. I don't think that's logical. I don't think that's realistic, not in this day and time, because everyone right now that I know at least has some sort of debt, not at their own fault, but from whether it's from school expenses, from like the increase in pricing of everything. The amount, how much it costs to just have one kid will get you into some medical debt. So thinking about it that way, you're going to have some debt when you quit. If you don't, cool, amazing, so proud of you. But what you need to do is focus on your savings while you're at work and still like making sure you're paying off debt and more than the minimum. But once you quit, you really want to focus on the debt snowball. And you could do this before. It just depends on like where you are mentally. I want to give you 2 options and 2 routes. One route, and probably like the most like financially sound and stable one, if you don't want to think about money after you quit like that, if you don't want it to be the big like focus of your day, is you can pay off all your debt before you quit and then focus on saving after that. But I have found that doing both at the same time, saving and paying off debt, majorly helps shift a lot of things for people, and it makes it feel more safe to do. So I don't love Dave Ramsey anymore. I used to preach the man. I used to love the man, but then I found out he doesn't think about how this country has not been equitable to most people of color. So like a lot of his methods do not work for people of color who do not come from wealth. It does not work for people who do not have access to gain wealth, who don't have like college degrees, who don't have a skill that pays quite a bit. It just doesn't work that well. But the one thing that I did find works pretty much across the board for most people is the debt snowball method. He did his big one with that. I think other people have done it in other ways. I've heard other people create like a debt avalanche instead of a snowball. But either way, basically what you want to do is decide like one debt that you want to knock out first. A lot of people psychologically will do the smallest one first. I would implore you to do your largest interest first because you need to knock that out because it's making the biggest mess out of all of it. So what you want to do is just start by paying a little bit more than the minimum on at least that one thing. So it could be a credit card, it could be student loans, it could be a car, whatever it is. You want to start adding like $50 extra a month or payment to 100, getting to 1,000. You want to take everything you have extra and not everything, but as much as you can extra, and put it on that one card or debt, whatever it is, until it's paid off in full. Once that one's paid off in full, you're going to pretend like it still exists. Take the minimum balance that you used to pay on that card and add it to the next one up. And you keep going until everything's away. So like, let's say you start and you say like, okay, I'm going to get rid of this $1,400 credit card bill. The minimum payment is like $50 a month. You start paying $250 a month. You knock that guy out. You take the $150 minimum that you used to, or the $50 minimum payment that you used to pay to that credit card. You move up to your big $5,000 credit card, and you start to say, okay, instead of paying like the $250 minimum here, I'm going to start paying $300, and take the minimum I used to use on my old card and put it here, and start putting everything you can at that one. So every $2-3 you find, you just add it over there, and you say, oh, cool. Somebody gives you some birthday money. You say like, okay, I'm going to have half for myself, and I'm going to use the other half to kind of knock out some more of this credit card. And that's how you start to like build the momentum to actually get rid of these debts. And it's not like fast. It's not something that's like going to be like a 6-month thing. If it can happen in 6 months, you probably make more money than most people, and you just were choosing not to pay attention to your debt, and you just like started to actually focus on it. But for the average Fran out there in America, this could take you, it took me and Ron the first time when we paid off all of our consumer debt. It took us about 14 months to pay off. It was like maybe $85,000 in debt. And it took us 14 months to do that. And we could only do it in 14 months because we both made 6 figures and we both would get bonuses. So like all of our bonus money would go to that. I side hustled, he side hustled. All of our side hustle money would go to that. But we want to make sure this is not something where like you get so caught up in only paying off debt that you drain your accounts from any money. We want this to be focused on future peace, but not at the expense of current happiness. And what I mean by that is if you decide like your current happiness is not worth your future, you're not going to make it there. You're going to be so upset and so mad all the time because you have sacrificed your now for your future in too big of a way. We still want to find joy and happiness and celebration in today while also making sure we take care of tomorrow. As the Bible says, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has its own problems. You need to focus on today, right? So yes, we want to pay off that future debt, but we want to make sure we're doing it in a thoughtful way. We want it to be focused, but it's not going to be perfect. Okay. And then next, we want to create sinking funds to fuel your exit. So you're not just saving, you're securing the future. As I said, you want to start paying off this debt, but we also want to feel some kind of safety net in having like available liquid cash and like doing them both kind of simultaneously and equally. So sinking funds it's not a savings account. This is just a fund that has one job. And for you, this fund is to fund the transition from 9-to-5 life to your entrepreneurship journey. So choose a number that could get you 3 to 6 months of bare bones living expenses. And you are going to use this sinking fund as your salary and as your paycheck. We kind of talked about this before a little bit, but I wanted to give you a clear understanding of what it is. We are going to let our business save up, get all the profit it can, and we're going to use this sinking fund to pay yourself every 2 to 3 weeks as if you were still working at your job to make you feel a little more safe once you leave. Add an overflow here. So like this is going to be like tax refunds, side gig incomes, random blessings. You want to add all of that into your sinking fund, part of it into your paying off debt if you still have debt. But we want to make sure you feel good and stacked for when you quit. So there is a combination of like not having too much debt when you quit and not having not being nearly close at all to having $0 in your bank account and knowing where your money can come from. This is not an emergency fund. This is just like to make sure you can walk away well and have some money to back you up if your business comes on like rainy days and hard times. Okay. And finally, you need an emergency fund. So A lot of people will tell you an emergency fund of $1,000 will get you there. No, it won't. $1,000 is like not even going to cover a car incident. Like right now, we have a car that's down and out, and they're quoting us a minimum before labor of $2,100, right? So $1,000 would have never gotten us anywhere if that was our emergency fund. Build your emergency fund up to like $5,000. This is just to handle like the little things in life, like a car breaking down, someone in your family needing some help, you have unexpected medical expenses that you don't want to go into debt for. The emergency fund is there for that. But you got to remember the sinking fund and the emergency fund are both necessary, and they're both there for different cushions. The sinking fund is to cushion you in case you cannot pay yourself as an entrepreneur. The emergency fund is there for the life expenses that you need to take care of and make sure that you are focused on. We need to aim to get our emergency up to 6 months of expenses in our emergency fund and replenish it immediately whenever you use it. Okay, this was a super fast episode, but I told y'all part 2 was going to be fast, but it was just too much more to add to part 1. So make sure that you don't build your budget on dreams. Build it on data and facts and the money that exists in your bank account. Pay down what you can now so you can have peace when you are on the other side of freedom from 9-to-5 life. Create a sinking fund that gives you room to grow and like shift as you need to, again, feel that sense of peace going into entrepreneurship. And then keep your emergency fund on deck because life be tripping. Life will be tripping. Okay. If you need help with making this plan or starting your entrepreneurship journey as a side hustler, then transitioning to full time, hit me up. You can DM me or book a one-on-one coaching call below, and we can create a quit your job emergency plan to help you get there. And then also don't forget to subscribe to Franly Advice. Love y'all. Peace.